The morning sky over New York looked normal, blue and clear with white clouds floating peacefully above the city. 12 billion people lived on Earth in the year 2387, and most of them started their day like any other. They had no idea that everything was about to change forever. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching Earth turn slowly below him. The planet looked beautiful from space, with its blue oceans and green continents. Jake had been protecting Earth for 20 years as commander of the Sol Defense Fleet. His ships patrolled the space around Earth, keeping watch for any threats that might come from the stars. On Earth, President Lisa Carter was having breakfast in her office in New Geneva. She was reading reports from the 17 human colonies scattered across nearby star systems. Trade was good, the colonies were growing, and peace had lasted for over 50 years. Life was good for humanity. That morning changed everything. Captain Ryan Pierce was working his usual shift at the orbital monitoring station when his screens started showing something impossible. Ryan had been watching space around Earth for 10 years, and he had never seen anything like the readings on his instruments. Something massive was moving toward Earth from the outer edge of the solar system. "This can't be right," Ryan muttered, checking his equipment twice. The objects were huge, each one the size of a small moon. There were 5 of them, moving in perfect formation toward Earth. They were not human ships. Ryan immediately called Admiral Morrison. "Sir, we have unknown contacts approaching Earth. They're big, sir, really big." Jake rushed to his command center and looked at the sensor data. His face went pale. The objects were unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked organic, like giant living creatures floating through space. As he watched, the alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere and took positions above the major continents. The ships hovered silently in the sky. People all over Earth stopped what they were doing and looked up in wonder and fear. The alien vessels were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves and a soft blue glow. They made no sound and showed no signs of hostility. President Carter called an emergency meeting with her advisors. Within an hour, she was on a video call with Admiral Morrison and the leaders of all 17 human colonies. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who were these aliens and what did they want? The answer came in the form of a transmission sent directly to President Carter's office. The message appeared on her screen in perfect English, though the voice that spoke was unlike anything human. It sounded like wind moving through crystal caves. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Zephyrian Collective. We come in peace from the Andromeda Spiral. We wish to engage in trade negotiations with your species. Our ships are conducting atmospheric sampling to determine what resources your world might offer in exchange for our advanced technology." President Carter felt relief wash over her. They were traders, not invaders. She immediately sent a reply welcoming the Zephyrians to Earth and expressing humanity's desire for peaceful contact with other intelligent species. But something was wrong. Dr. Amanda Foster was Earth's chief atmospheric scientist. She worked in a laboratory in Switzerland, constantly monitoring the air that 12 billion people breathed every day. Amanda had dedicated her life to keeping Earth's atmosphere healthy and stable. 3 hours after the alien ships arrived, Amanda's instruments started showing readings that made no sense. Earth's oxygen levels were dropping, not slowly, like they might during a forest fire or industrial accident, but rapidly and steadily across the entire planet. Amanda ran the tests again and again, hoping for an error. But the numbers were clear. In just 3 hours, Earth had lost 15% of its breathable oxygen. At this rate, people would start having trouble breathing within days. Within weeks, most life on Earth would die. Amanda called President Carter immediately. "Madam President, something terrible is happening to our atmosphere. The oxygen levels are dropping fast. I think the alien ships are somehow taking our air. President Carter couldn't believe what she was hearing. She ordered Amanda to double-check everything while she tried to contact the Zephyrians again. The aliens' response came quickly, and this time their tone was very different. The friendly voice was gone, replaced by something cold and mechanical. People of Earth, we must inform you of the true purpose of our visit. Your planet possesses the largest natural oxygen reservoir we have discovered in this region of the galaxy. Oxygen is extremely rare in our home systems, and we require vast quantities to terraform our dying homeworld and 3 colony worlds. President Carter felt her blood turn to ice as the alien continued speaking. Our atmospheric conversion arrays are currently extracting oxygen from your planet's atmosphere. The process will continue until we have gathered sufficient quantities for our needs. We estimate this will leave your world with approximately 30% of its current oxygen levels. This should be sufficient to maintain basic plant life. The meaning was clear. The Zephyrians were going to take most of Earth's air, leaving behind just enough to keep the planet from becoming completely dead. 12 billion humans would suffocate slowly as their world became unable to support complex life. This is murder, President Carter said in her reply. You're talking about killing every person on this planet. Stop this immediately, or face the consequences. The Zephyrian response came in the form of action, not words. One of their ships moved over the Pacific Ocean and activated some kind of weapon. The water below began to boil and turn black. Within minutes, millions of fish floated dead on the surface. The alien ship had created a zone of death 50 miles across, killing everything in the water instantly. Then came the final message. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our bioships. Your small fleet cannot challenge our technology. Any attempt to interfere with our atmospheric extraction will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. Accept your fate with dignity. As oxygen levels continued to drop, people in major cities began to feel short of breath. Hospital emergency rooms filled with patients struggling to breathe. Panic started spreading as news of the alien threat reached the public. Admiral Morrison gathered his fleet around Earth, but he knew the truth. Humanity's warships were toys compared to the massive alien bioships. The Zephyrians had weapons that could crack planets, while humans still used primitive missiles and energy beams. As the first day ended and oxygen levels dropped another 10%, Jake received an encrypted message from deep space. The sender was listed as Admiral Kate Sullivan, but Jake had never heard of any admiral by that name. The message contained only a few words, but they filled him with hope he didn't understand. The masks come off. Humanity shows its teeth. Protocol 7 is now active. Jake stared at the message, wondering what it meant. He had no idea that humanity's greatest secret was about to be revealed, or that the galaxy was about to learn why humans had really survived long enough to reach the stars. As Earth's people went to sleep struggling to breathe, Admiral Sullivan's ships moved through the darkness of space, preparing to remind the galaxy of an important truth. Never mistake human kindness for human weakness. 3 years before the Zephyrians arrived at Earth, something incredible was happening in the Proxima Centauri system. Hidden behind the gas giant Proxima b, where no regular ship ever traveled, the largest construction project in human history was taking place. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched from her command ship as workers put the finishing touches on humanity's greatest secret. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. Kate had been chosen to lead this project because she understood something that most humans preferred to forget. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and someday humanity would need to fight for its survival. The secret project had begun when human deep space scouts found something amazing in the Vega system. Captain Tony Martinez had been exploring dead worlds when his ship detected metal structures buried under Centuries of dust and rock. What Tony found changed everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. The ruins belonged to an ancient alien civilization that had died out millions of years ago. But they had left behind incredible technology and detailed star charts showing the locations of dozens of other alien empires. Most importantly, they had left behind weapons plans and defensive systems far beyond anything humans had ever imagined. Dr. Benjamin Clark led the team of scientists who studied the alien ruins. Benjamin was a quiet man who had spent his whole life studying dead civilizations, but what he found in the Vega system terrified him. The star charts showed that humanity was surrounded by hostile alien races. Some were raiders who destroyed planets for fun. Others were slavers who captured entire species. A few were worse than anything humans could imagine. "We're not alone," Benjamin told the secret council that had been formed to deal with the discovery. "And most of our neighbors want us dead or enslaved." The council made a decision that would change human history. They would use the ancient alien technology to build a secret fleet of warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The fleet would remain hidden until humanity faced a threat that could destroy their entire species. Only then would the galaxy learn what humans were truly capable of. Admiral Sullivan was put in charge of the project, working with engineers from 12 different star systems. She began building ships that could challenge any alien empire. The project was so secret that even most human governments didn't know it existed. Resources were quietly moved from mining operations throughout human space. The best engineers and scientists were recruited with cover stories about deep space exploration missions. The shipyard itself was a marvel of engineering. Built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, it was large enough to construct the biggest ships humans had ever imagined. Thousands of workers lived there permanently, cut off from the outside world, but proud of the work they were doing to protect humanity. The ships they built were called Dreadnoughts, and each one was 15 kilometers long. They were massive weapons platforms designed for one purpose: to destroy any threat to humanity completely and without mercy. The ancient alien technology allowed humans to build quantum cannons that could punch through any known shield system. Antimatter torpedoes gave each ship enough firepower to crack a small planet. Most importantly, each dreadnought carried atmospheric restoration technology that could repair environmental damage on a planetary scale. 12 ships were built in total, each named after a human virtue. The Justice was commanded by Captain Nick Barnes, a former fighter pilot who had never lost a battle. The Vengeance was led by Commander Helen Torres, whose family had been killed by pirates in the outer colonies. Each ship carried a crew of 5,000 of humanity's best soldiers, engineers, and scientists. The flagship was called Humanity's Wrath, and Admiral Sullivan commanded it personally. Standing on its bridge, she could look out at weapon systems, powerful enough to sterilize entire star systems. But the real power of the Dreadnought fleet wasn't just in its weapons. It was in what the ships represented: humanity's refusal to go quietly into extinction. As the years passed, the secret fleet grew stronger. New technologies were developed and installed. Combat simulations were run thousands of times to prepare for every possible threat. The crews trained constantly, knowing that someday they might be all that stood between humanity and complete destruction. The fleet remained hidden, waiting and watching. Admiral Sullivan received regular reports about alien activities throughout the galaxy. She knew about the Zephyrian Collective and their reputation for taking resources from weaker species. She had files on dozens of other alien races that might someday threaten human worlds. But the plan was to remain hidden until the last possible moment. Let the galaxy think humans were weak traitors who depended on others for protection. Let hostile aliens underestimate what humanity could do when pushed too far. The longer the secret lasted, the more complete the surprise would be when the truth was finally revealed. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Miller trained his Marines for the day when they might have to board alien ships and fight in zero gravity. His soldiers were equipped with power armor and energy weapons that made them equal to any alien warrior. They practiced boarding actions and close combat in environments designed to simulate alien ship interiors. The Marines knew they were training for something important, but most of them didn't know exactly what. Only the highest-ranking officers knew about the Dreadnought fleet and its true purpose. The secret was too important to risk, and too dangerous to share with anyone who didn't absolutely need to know. When Admiral Sullivan received Jake Morrison's emergency transmission about the Zephyrian attack on Earth, she felt a mixture of sadness and grim satisfaction. Sadness because humanity's time of hiding was over. Satisfaction because the aliens had chosen to threaten the one thing that would make humans reveal their true nature, Earth itself. Sullivan called her senior officers to the bridge of humanity's wrath. Captain Nick Barnes came aboard from the Justice, while Commander Helen Torres joined them from the Vengeance. Other ship commanders appeared on video screens throughout the fleet. The time has come, Sullivan told them. An alien race is attempting to commit genocide against our species. They believe we are weak and helpless. They're about to learn otherwise. The Admiral activated Protocol 7, the authorization for total war that had been prepared 3 years earlier. Across 12 star systems, hidden human military installations came online. Secret weapons factories began operating at full capacity. Ships that had been disguised as merchant vessels revealed their true nature as heavy cruisers and destroyers. A message went out on encrypted channels to every human colony, every military base, and every government official with sufficient security clearance. The text was simple, but it changed everything. The masks come off. Humanity shows its teeth. Admiral Sullivan looked out at her fleet of 12 planet-killing warships and smiled coldly. The Zephyrians thought they were stealing air from a defenseless world. They had no idea they were about to face the most dangerous military force humanity had ever created. The galaxy was about to discover why humans had really survived long enough to reach the stars. The Zephyrians felt very confident as they continued stealing Earth's atmosphere. Their massive bioships floated peacefully above the planet, their conversion arrays working steadily to extract the precious oxygen. Inside their command ship, Zephyrian scientists monitored the process with satisfaction. Everything was going exactly as planned. Commander Vex High was the leader of the Zephyrian fleet. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the dim light of his ship's bridge. Like all Zephyrians, he viewed other species as either useful resources or annoying obstacles. Humans, he had decided, were simply too primitive to be a real threat. Report on the atmospheric extraction, Vex High commanded his science officer. Proceeding smoothly, Commander. We have gathered 37% of the required oxygen. The human population is beginning to show signs of respiratory distress, but there has been no organized resistance. Vex High was pleased. The humans were behaving exactly as expected. Their small fleet of primitive warships had gathered around Earth, but they made no aggressive moves. Instead, their Admiral Morrison kept sending increasingly desperate messages, begging for mercy and offering to surrender entire star systems in exchange for Earth's survival. The human messages amused Vex High greatly. "Please, we can negotiate," Morrison had said in his latest transmission. "We have resources, technology, anything you want. Just stop taking our air, and we can work something out." It was pathetic, really. The humans had spread to 17 star systems, but they were still the same weak species that had crawled out of caves on their little blue planet. They had no real weapons, no understanding of galactic politics, and no ability to resist a superior civilization like the Zephyrian collective dot, to prove this point. HFY decided to give the humans a demonstration of futility. He allowed them to launch what they called their final desperate attack against the bio-ships. Captain Danny Wright led the human assault with a fleet of 30 outdated cruisers and destroyers. Danny was a good soldier who had fought pirates in the outer colonies, but his ships were toys compared to the massive Zephyrian bioships. He knew his attack would fail, but he had his orders from Admiral Morrison. "All ships, commence attack pattern Alpha," Danny commanded. "Give them everything we've got." The human ships opened fire with missiles and energy beams. The weapons were primitive by galactic standards, using chemical explosives and basic laser technology that was centuries behind what advanced civilizations possessed. The barrage struck the Zephyrian bioships and did absolutely nothing. The organic armor absorbed the impacts without showing even a scorch mark. HFY watched the pathetic human attack with amusement. "Should we return fire, Commander?" asked his weapons officer. "No," HFY replied. "Let them exhaust themselves. It will make our superiority even more obvious." After 20 minutes of useless bombardment, the human ships retreated. Captain Wright sent a message to the Zephyrian fleet that sounded defeated and hopeless. "We surrender. Please have mercy on our people." The Zephyrians celebrated their easy victory. They sent mocking messages to the human fleet, comparing them to insects trying to fight giants. Some Zephyrian officers suggested they should simply destroy the human ships to make a point, but HFY decided to let them live. Dead insects couldn't spread word of Zephyrian power throughout the galaxy. What the Zephyrians didn't know was that everything they had seen was an act. Admiral Morrison and Captain Wright were playing their roles perfectly, making the aliens believe that humanity was helpless and defeated. While the fake battle happened above Earth, the real human military was moving into position. In deep space, Admiral Sullivan coordinated the largest military operation in human history. The 12 dreadnoughts moved through hyperspace using advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Each massive ship was accompanied by supporting vessels, 50 heavy cruisers, 150 destroyers, and over 600 fighter craft. The human fleet was spread across multiple star systems, but they were all converging on Earth. Sullivan had spent days planning the attack, studying every detail of the Zephyrian bioships and calculating exactly how to destroy them most efficiently. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Miller prepared his Marines for the most important mission of all. There lives 20,000 elite soldiers checked their power armor and energy weapons one final time. They had trained for years for this moment, boarding alien ships and capturing their technology before the enemy could destroy it. "Remember," Miller told his troops, "we need those atmospheric conversion arrays intact. Kill every alien you find, but don't damage the equipment. Earth's survival depends on us reversing what they've done." The Marines nodded grimly. They knew the stakes. If they failed, 12 billion people would die slowly as Earth's atmosphere became too thin to breathe. On Earth, President Carter made what everyone believed would be her final broadcast to the planet. Oxygen levels had dropped to dangerous levels, and people in major cities were collapsing in the streets. Hospitals overflowed with patients struggling to breathe. Panic had spread across the globe as the reality of slow suffocation set in. But Carter's message was not one of surrender. Standing in her office with Earth's dying blue sky visible through the windows behind her, she spoke words that would be remembered forever. "My fellow humans, the aliens above us believe we are weak because we choose peace over war. They think we are helpless because we prefer cooperation to conquest. They see our kindness as weakness and our restraint as cowardice. They are about to learn how wrong they are." Carter paused, looking directly into the camera. We are not the prey species these aliens think we are. We are humanity. We survived ice ages and plagues, wars and disasters that would have destroyed weaker races. We climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. And we do not kneel to anyone. As she spoke, Admiral Sullivan's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 12 planet-killing warships and their escorts began their final approach to Earth. The advanced stealth systems kept them hidden from Zephyrian sensors. But not for much longer. The trap was set. The Zephyrians thought they had won an easy victory against a helpless species. They had no idea that in less than 6 hours, they would face weapons powerful enough to crack worlds and soldiers trained to fight in the depths of space. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of humanity's wrath and smiled coldly as Earth appeared on her screens. The blue planet looked smaller than usual, its atmosphere visibly thinner thanks to Zephyrian theft. But that was about to change. All ships, prepare for combat, she commanded. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's home. At exactly 2 o'clock in the afternoon Earth time, space above the planet began to tear apart. 12 massive holes opened in the fabric of reality as the Dreadnought fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The tears in space glowed with energy as ships the size of cities emerged from the void. Commander HFY was reviewing atmospheric extraction reports when his sensor officer screamed in terror. Commander, massive energy signatures appearing directly above us. Unknown vessels materializing in attack formation. HFY rushed to his sensor display and felt his blood turn to ice. 12 enormous ships had appeared from nowhere, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. The readings were impossible. These ships carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Where did they come from? HFY demanded. How did they get past our sensors? Before anyone could answer, a new voice filled the command center. It was calm, cold, and absolutely terrifying. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Federation. Dreadnought Fleet, you have exactly 10 seconds to begin reversing the atmospheric theft, or we demonstrate why humans survived long enough to reach the stars. HFY stared at the massive human warship that had appeared directly above his bioship. The vessel was covered in weapon systems that made Zephyrian technology look like children's toys. How had the primitive humans built something like this? Impossible, HFY whispered. Our intelligence reports said humans had no advanced military technology. His weapons officer was frantically checking their systems. Commander, their energy readings are off the scale. Those ships are carrying quantum weapons and antimatter systems. They have enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet. HFY's mind raced. This had to be a trick. The humans had shown their weakness just hours ago when their pathetic fleet bounced harmlessly off Zephyrian shields. These new ships must be illusions or some kind of advanced hologram technology. All ships open fire, HFY commanded. Destroy these fake human vessels and continue the atmospheric extraction. The 5 Zephyrian bioships unleashed their full firepower. Energy beams that could melt continents struck the human dreadnoughts with enough force to crack moons. Beams hit the human shields and simply vanished, absorbed by defensive systems beyond Zephyrian understanding. Captain Nick Barnes stood on the bridge of the Justice and watched the alien attack with amusement. Their weapons tickle, he told his crew. Our turn. Admiral Sullivan's voice echoed across the human fleet. All ships open fire. Show them what real weapons look like. The Dreadnought fleet fired as one. 12 quantum lance beams, each carrying the energy output of a small star, punched through space and struck the Zephyrian bioships. The organic armor that had seemed invincible moments before dissolved like paper in a fire. The quantum beams cut completely through the massive alien vessels. creating wounds that glowed with deadly energy. The Zephyrians screamed in terror as their bioships began to die around them. Emergency alarms filled every corridor as critical systems overloaded and exploded. The ships that had seemed so powerful just minutes ago were being torn apart like tissue paper, but the humans were not finished. Wave after wave of antimatter. Torpedoes followed the initial quantum barrage. Each torpedo carried enough destructive force to crack a moon, and the dreadnoughts launched them by the hundreds. The Zephyrian bioships, already crippled by the quantum lances, began breaking apart under the relentless assault. Commander Vex High tried desperately to coordinate a retreat, but his ship's engines were destroyed. Half his crew was dead, and the other half was fighting fires and trying to keep life support working. He had never seen destruction on this scale. The humans were not just defeating the Zephyrian fleet, they were annihilating it. "Send a surrender message," Vex High ordered his communications officer. "Tell them we yield and will reverse the atmospheric theft." "I can't, sir," the officer replied in panic. "Communications are down. Weapons are down. Everything is down." Captain Sally Evans of the Defiance coordinated the marine assault from her ship's hangar bay. Thousands of drop pods launched from the dreadnoughts, each one carrying a squad of power-armored marines directly toward the damaged alien vessels. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Miller led the charge into the primary Zephyrian bioship. His drop pod smashed through the organic hull and deployed his squad in a corridor designed for beings twice human size. The Marines moved quickly through the alien ship, their energy weapons cutting down any Zephyrian who tried to resist. The Zephyrians had never faced human soldiers in combat. Their own military focused on space battles between fleets, not the brutal close-quarters fighting the humans had perfected through centuries of war. The aliens were tall and graceful, but they were not warriors. Against human Marines in power, armor, they stood no chance. Miller's squad reached the atmospheric conversion array within 20 minutes. The massive machine was still running, still stealing oxygen from Earth's atmosphere. Zephyrian technicians tried to destroy the equipment rather than let it fall into human hands, but Miller's Marines gunned them down before they could complete. As sabotage, "Control the machinery," Miller ordered his technical specialist. "Make these aliens reverse what they've done to our planet." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out as human Marines captured ship after ship. The Zephyrians had expected easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves overwhelmed by soldiers who fought with a fury they had never encountered. Within 3 hours, the battle was over. 4 of the 5 Zephyrian bioships were completely destroyed, their wreckage falling through Earth's atmosphere like burning meteors. The 5th ship was captured intact, its crew either dead or imprisoned by human Marines. Admiral Sullivan stood on the Bridge of Humanities, wrath, and watched as the atmospheric conversion arrays were reversed. Earth's oxygen levels began to climb back toward normal as the stolen air was pumped back into the planet's atmosphere. Millions of people below breathed easier as their world slowly returned to life. But Sullivan was not finished. She opened a communication channel that reached every corner of the galaxy, broadcasting on frequencies that every spacefaring species monitored. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Federation. A Zephyrian collective attempted to commit genocide against the human species by stealing our planet's atmosphere. They believed we were weak and helpless. They were wrong." Sullivan paused, letting her words sink in across dozens of star systems where other alien races listened in shock. Let this serve as a warning to any species considering aggression against human worlds. We are not the peaceful traders you thought we were. We are humanity, and we do not forgive attacks on our people. We do not forget those who threaten our homes. And we do not show mercy to those who would murder our children. The message ended but its impact would be felt throughout the galaxy for generations. Every alien civilization now knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. They had been holding back, waiting for someone to make the mistake of threatening Earth itself. The Dreadnought fleet had revealed itself, and with it, humanity's true nature. They were not prey. They were predators who had learned to hunt among the stars. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. News of humanity's hidden fleet had spread to every corner of space, reaching alien civilizations that had never even heard of humans before. The species that had been dismissed as primitive traders were now recognized as one of the most dangerous military powers in the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan found herself promoted to Supreme Fleet Admiral, commanding not just the original 12 dreadnoughts, but an expanded human navy that operated openly across dozens of star systems. The secret shipyards of Proxima Centauri now worked around the clock, no longer hiding their purpose. New dreadnoughts rolled out of the construction bays every few months, each one more advanced than the last. The galaxy watched in fear and fascination as humanity revealed technology after technology that had been hidden for years. Quantum weapons, antimatter drives, atmospheric restoration systems, and defensive shields that could absorb planet-killing energy beams. It became clear that humans had been secretly developing advanced technology while pretending to be dependent on alien trade. President Lisa Carter addressed the Galactic Council for the first time as an equal rather than a minor species seeking protection. She walked into the great chamber on the neutral world of Centaurus Prime, flanked by human marines in full power armor. The alien delegates who had once looked down on humanity now watched her with nervous respect. The human species has a new policy regarding galactic relations, Carter announced to the assembled aliens. We seek peaceful cooperation with those who respect our sovereignty. We offer fair trade and mutual defense agreements to our friends. But to those who threaten human lives or human worlds, we promise swift and overwhelming retaliation. This Altarian ambassador, a tall insect-like being with compound eyes, raised a claw nervously. What assurance do we have that humanity will not use its military power to conquer weaker species? Carter smiled coldly. The same assurance you gave. U.S. when you had superior technology. None. But unlike some races in this council, humans do not attack unprovoked. We simply want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. The message was clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity would not start wars, but they would certainly finish them. The days of treating humans as inferior primitives were over forever. Back on Earth, Dr. Amanda Foster led the Atmospheric Restoration Project using captured Zephyrian technology. Working with human engineers, she had not only restored Earth's original oxygen levels, but actually improved them. The planet's air was cleaner than it had been in centuries. Children played under skies that were clearer and bluer than their grandparents had ever seen. It's ironic, Amanda told President Carter during one of their monthly meetings. The aliens who tried to kill our world ended up giving us the technology to heal it completely. The Zephyrian collective itself faced total defeat. Their surviving bioships had limped back to their home systems, carrying news of humanity's devastating military power. The proud aliens who had thought themselves superior to all other species now lived in constant fear of human retaliation. Captain Ryan Pierce, promoted to Admiral after his role in detecting the original Zephyrian attack, established monitoring stations throughout former Zephyrian territory. His ships patrolled their space, ensuring they never again developed the capability to threaten other worlds. We're not conquerors, Ryan explained to his officers. We're wardens. We make sure they never hurt anyone again. The ancient alien technology that had made the dreadnoughts possible continued to reveal new secrets. Dr. Benjamin Clark's archaeological teams discovered more ruins throughout the galaxy. each site containing advanced knowledge about weapons, shields, and faster-than-light travel. Some ruins contained star maps leading to other civilizations, both friendly and hostile. Captain Nick Barnes, now commanding a new heavy battle cruiser called the Retribution, led exploration missions to these newly discovered worlds. Some contained friendly species eager to trade with humanity. Others were empty, their civilizations destroyed by the same hostile aliens that had once threatened to destroy humanity. "We're not alone in having enemies," Nick reported to Admiral Sullivan. "The galaxy is full of species that barely survived encounters with aggressive aliens. They see us as potential protectors now." Captain Danny Wright, whose fake desperate attack had helped sell humanity's deception, commanded one of the new dreadnoughts being built in Earth orbit. His ship, the Vindication, served as a symbol of humanity's refusal to accept defeat. Its weapons were even more advanced than the original fleet, incorporating new technology developed from studying captured Zephyrian equipment. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Miller found himself promoted to general and put in charge of training the next generation of human space marines. His soldiers were equipped with improved power armor and energy weapons that made them superior to any alien ground forces. They trained constantly for the day when humanity might face new threats. "The galaxy knows we exist now," Miller told his new recruits. "That means the really dangerous aliens will start paying attention to us. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." President Carter established the Human Defense Doctrine, a set of principles that would guide humanity's military policy for generations to come. The doctrine was simple. Humanity would not attack first, but any species that threatened human worlds would face complete destruction. There would be no mercy for those who tried to commit genocide against the human race. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of humanity's wrath and looked out at the growing fleet under her command. 57 dreadnoughts now patrolled human space, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Supporting them were hundreds of cruisers, thousands of destroyers, and tens of thousands of fighter craft. The galaxy had learned to fear and respect humanity, but Sullivan knew this was only the beginning. News of the Dreadnought fleet would eventually reach the truly dangerous alien empires that existed in the deep reaches of space. Someday, humanity would face enemies that made the Zephyrians look like harmless children. But when that day came, humanity would be ready. They had revealed their true nature to the galaxy, and there was no going back. The age of hiding behind masks of weakness was over. The age of human strength had begun. Years later, when alien children learned galactic history in their schools, they were taught about the day humanity revealed itself as one of the galaxy's apex predators. The lesson was always the same: never mistake human restraint for human weakness. Never assume that because humans prefer peace, they are incapable of war. The Dreadnought fleet continued to grow, now numbering over 100 vessels. Each new ship carried the name of a human virtue or emotion, reminding the galaxy that humanity fought not just with superior technology, but with the unbreakable will to protect what they loved. Deep in space, human scouts continued exploring new systems, always ready to discover new friends or new threats. They carried a simple message to anyone they encountered: humanity was no longer hiding. They had shown their teeth to the galaxy, and they would never again pretend to be weak. The galaxy was safer now, at least for those smart enough to leave human worlds alone. And for those who weren't smart enough, the Dreadnought fleet waited, in the darkness between the stars, ready to remind them why humanity had survived long enough to claim their place among the stars.